All right, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. So I really got fixated on this hadith and wanted to go over some of those hadith and hopefully, inshallah, continue what we were doing. Let's look at this hadith. عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله عنهما قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم oh no, this one, where is it? Number 73. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من يرد الله به خيرا يصب منه, or there is another narration يصب منه. So two things here. Last time I said من يرد الله به خيرا يصب منه or يصب منه. Whoever wants, or whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for him, yusib min or yusab min. So the two different narrations, one, yusab min, if you want good, let's say you want any khair, you put the effort, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you based on the amount of effort that you put in, it will come back to you. So that's based on one narration. The second narration was really what made me contemplate long, and it was really interesting, which is the yusib min. What's the difference? Yusab means you will get it. Yusib means you will be pricked to get it. What does that mean? So man yuridillahu bihi khayran. Let's say you asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for perhaps power. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put you in struggles. You asked for power, so He put you in struggles to learn how to work out to become a person of power. Let's say you made the dua to be courageous.
Wow, that's amazing.
Put you in fear in order to get you work out how to become a person of courage. Let's say you made the dua that you wanted to be a millionaire. He'll probably put you in maybe losing your job because He wanted you to learn how to figure out the different skills, the different keys on how to make money. Let's say you made the dua perhaps to, I guess, maybe be a leader. He'll probably put you in different hardships to probably get bullied, etc., to learn that you overcome these bullies, that's what's going to basically give you the power to become a person that controls these bullies. That's how you become a leader. And it's quite interesting. I never whatsoever thought of it this way, except when, subhanAllah, Noura, Allah barik fiki, you're the one, you're like, you need to work more on this hadith. And certainly, by going through this hadith, I was just amazed. I never thought of it this way, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, man yuridillahu bihi khayran yusib min. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something good for you, you might actually be put in the challenges and in certain challenges in order to bring you to the good. The good is there, but He will put you in those areas in order for you to work your way out. So you might want, for example, a dua of khair. Maybe you wanted to be good in your deen. You wanted to become something that is spiritual. And He might have taken more of your dunya. Your husband died, your kids, went into Allah, God forbid, different things, and everything was gone. And you're like, I wanted to be better in my deen, not worse in my dunya. What happened? He took away your dunya in order for you to connect to akhirah, to reach out to akhirah. The different things that people lose are basically what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is paving the way for them to get into its strength. But that's not what happens to everyone. Not everyone, I guess, learns. Not everyone learns and not everyone achieves the same thing. But it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving you the keys and the push to help you towards getting into that power and into getting into those successes that you had hoped for. But many might, instead of seeing that as a way to get them stronger, many and most people will see that challenge as nothing but an obstacle. So you could see the obstacle as a way to go up higher, and this is man yuridillahu bihi khayran, or you could see the challenge as an obstacle and basically lose hope and lose your patience and lose your ability to make use of that and give up. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would describe al-kafirin as qanitina min rahmatillah, that they lost hope in what in what they qanitina min rahmatillah, they basically lost hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names. They lost hope in the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They lost hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be the one to give them the rizq, would be the one to give them success, would be the one to give them all of that. But then if they lost hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, well, that would mean they basically just succumb to the challenge. That's it. So for a believer, they recognize that their human capacity may fall short, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will and power would never fall short. So that's what a mu'min is. Al-mu'min muta'alliq billah. Al-mu'min is connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they recognize that even when my powers and my potentials fall short, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's powers will never fall short. So here's a question. What if someone asked for al-firdaus? Well, if someone asked for al-firdaus, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might give them the different things to give them al-firdaus. So what does that even look like? So when a person asks for al-firdaus, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will probably give them what leads to firdaus. So what leads to al-firdaus? What leads to al-firdaus are, one, al-sabr, al-iman, and certainly al-ihsan. All these different things lead to al-firdaus. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will probably put you in different situations how to give up on dunya in order to get to al-firdaus, in order to get to al-akhirah. So just keep that one in mind, that don't lose your hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and certainly stay connected with probably what takes you there, but you definitely need to remember that حتى الشوكة يشاكها, even if it's a thorn that might prick you, if you are patient in it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the reward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the reward, and if you are patient, if you don't continuously complain, and number three, if you hold on to the principle. So if you are sincere in wanting al-firdaus, you are sincere, that's what will keep you strong and committed. Your commitment, your commitment to wanting al-firdaus is going to make you work hard, being consistent in the principle. Okay, let's go for hadith number 74. عن أبي هريرة وأبي سعيد رضي الله عنهما. So أبي سعيد الخدري أبو هريرة دوسي أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: ما يصيب المسلم من نصب ولا وصب ولا هم ولا حزن ولا أذى ولا غم حتى الشوكة يشاكها إلا كفر الله بها من خطاياه. Let's see. The Prophet ﷺ had said, no fatigue, disease, anxiety, grief, harm, or distress befalls a Muslim, even if it were the prick he receives from a thorn, but that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expiate some of his sins because of it. So this is to tell us, going with this one, is that the Muslim, they don't focus their vision on the pain, whether we're speaking about physical pain, mental pain, or perhaps social distress and all of these different harms, even if it's something as small as perhaps a thorn pricking the person. If they are patient, they would recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to reduce from the sins, and therefore, instead of focusing on the pain, hoping for gain, instead of focusing on complaining about the pain, using their speech in order to work and question about ways how they can get out of that distress. So it's trying to think ahead. It's trying to think of hope rather than think of pain. It's not focusing on the history of things, but looking for the future in ways out of whatever they were pricked, whatever harm that they lived through, and certainly not succumbing to the distresses that they are facing and giving up on the principle, but actually taking the principles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the tool that would get them into success. Let's see. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال لا يلدغ المؤمن من جحر مرتين من جحر واحد مرتين. Let's see. A believer is not bitten from the same hole twice. Absolutely not an accurate translation. So what is لا يلدغ? اللدغ is basically when any, let's say, creature, whether we're speaking about a scorpion or whether we're speaking about a snake, they would basically either bite you or they might, of course, even sting you with something. All right, so a believer is not stung from the same. The word juhr is not a hole, it's more of a burrow. So it's not a hole, it's a burrow. What's the difference between a hole and a burrow? Well, a burrow is in the ground, okay? A hole, it could be a hole in the wall, it could be, it's a different thing. So this is a burrow. So this is basically letting the believer know that you have to be alert. So in other words, it's not enough to face the hardships and just say, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of it and do. No, you have to be alert. And if you had already seen something go wrong once, don't continue doing the wrong thing over and over again, because by now you should have known what this leads to. You should have known that this leads to perhaps maybe a wrong consequence. This probably leads to basically harm, etc. Then it makes no sense to not learn the mistake and go into the same consequence more than once. So لا يلدغ المؤمن من جحر مرتين. And there was a story behind this. A man who basically had participated in the battle of Badr, and then he was taken as a hostage. Well, this man wasn't any kind of a man. This man was doing a lot of warmongering in his poetry. He was using his poetry to do the warmongering against the Prophet ﷺ to excite and entice, of course, a lot of hatred towards the Prophet ﷺ, towards the Muslims, towards Islam, etc. So when he was taken as a hostage during the Battle of Badr, he went to the Prophet ﷺ and hoped that he would get freed, and basically worked on getting the Prophet ﷺ to pity this man. So he goes to the Prophet ﷺ, says, I'm a poor man, I've got family, I've got kids, and please let me loose. I wouldn't do this again. And I know I was doing such a horrible thing, this kind of language. And certainly the Prophet ﷺ fell for it and he let him go. Now, Battle of Badr was in the second year Hijrah. The following year, which is the following year in the Battle of Uhud, he was taken hostage again. So he played the same game. My children, my wife, and I wouldn't do this again. So the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يلدغ المؤمن من جحر مرتين. You're going to go back and you're going to say that you managed to scorn and you managed to betray me and betray the Muslims more than once. Once is enough to basically get, of course, betrayed. So he ordered that this man would be killed because, hey, you played the game before, but you did this again and you fought the Muslims again and you killed a lot of Muslims again and you promised you would not go fighting us, but you still continued to fight us, even though the first time we let you loose and we didn't even ask for a ransom. We didn't even ask for anything from you. We let you basically go home and we accepted your apology. We accepted that you would not fight the Ummah again. You would not get into warmongering again. But here you are at it again and even caught another time. So, لا يلدغ المؤمن جحر مرتين. So this, of course, is a metaphorical hadith, but a lot to learn from it, that you would have to learn from the mistakes that you would commit and don't necessarily think in being naive, but you have to be wise, you have to be smart, you have to recognize the patterns, and through these patterns, you basically have to make the decisions that are in your favor and making sure that you don't make these mistakes again and put yourself in the same consequence or the bad consequence, the wrong consequence, but you have to learn from the mistakes that others had probably fallen into, or you probably had fallen into, and you have to basically turn away from what leads to the wrong ending. Okay, let's go for number 76 on al-Mu'mineen. So عن أم المؤمنين عائشة رضي الله عنها عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الرفق لا يكون في شيء إلا زانه ولا ينزع من شيء إلا شانه. Let's see, what happened? Kindness is not found in anything without beautifying it. And is not removed from anything without disfiguring it. Oh, absolutely a wrong translation. So in الرفق, what is الرفق? الرفق is not, yes, it can be kindness, but it's more gentleness. الرفق being gentle whenever it is in something, you invest in a certain thing that is gentleness. Well, what is gentleness? الرفق is more when you are taking compassion in consideration. So I guess kindness would be it. Number two, الرفق is also not rushing the consequence or the result before it basically is ripe and basically ready to move on. So in other words, don't rush the result. And that's why, based on that and derived from it, the fuqaha, they said a very important statement, and they said, من استعجل الشيء قبل أوانه عوقب بحرمانه. Let's write that one down. Okay? من استعجل, write that down. من استعجل الشيء قبل أوانه عوقب بحرمانه. If somebody rushes anything before it is time for it, then they will be punished by it be getting taken away from them. So I told you, for example, not to play let's say you're a child. I told you not to play the game, but you went on and you played the game and I told you to focus on your studies, but you went and started playing the game. Then in that situation, I have to teach you, I'm going to take out the game or take out the timing from that game because you basically rushed getting into that game. So therefore, we're going to deduct some of your timing because you rushed into getting the reward before it's time for it. That's not only in dealing with the children, but that's the same thing with adults. If, let's say, somebody might have, let's say, wanted the inheritance, all right, and wanted the inheritance, so they kill the person that they were going to inherit from. Then in that situation, since that person rushed to get the inheritance by killing the person, then the person that killed, they don't get from that inheritance. Why? Because you rushed to get that inheritance. Now you cannot get the inheritance from the person that you killed. Even if it was by mistake. No, by mistake is a different story. Okay, so من استعجل الشيء قبل أوانه عوقب بحرمانه. What is the story? There are actually two different narrations on what the real story behind this is. إن الرفق لا يكون في شيء إلا زانه. That gentleness is not in anything, but it gives it weight. It gives that value. And whenever it is taken from that matter, it basically loses its value and loses its weight. There are two different narrations to why the Prophet ﷺ said this statement. The first narration said that Sayyidah Aisha, she rode on this camel and started, beating it and wanting it to basically rush in moving. But it seems the camel was maybe just not in a mood or something, but the camel wasn't going as fast and as active as the Sayyidah Aisha wanted it to be. So the Prophet ﷺ tells her by being gentle, and that's what's going to give it weight. And if it is taken out of it, that's what will make it lose its value. In other words, it will not activate what it really carries within it. So just being gentle, being patient, and not rushing the consequence of things. Sometimes just give it time. Don't necessarily rush to get to the result that you're seeking. So by being patient, by letting it get, warm up, by letting whatever is with you, just give it some time and not rushing, is key. And of course, you could say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had talked about part of the human nature. إن الإنسان خلق هلوعا إذا مسه الشر جزوعا وإذا مسه الخير منوعا إلا المصلين. Look at this one. إن الإنسان خلق هلوعا. Human beings, they were created. The word is هلوعا. What is هلوعا? الهلع is when you panic. So when a person, it's part of our nature that whenever something wrong happens or adrenaline basically goes up, sometimes for a good cause, sometimes for a wrong cause, we're just afraid for our life, afraid for our property, afraid for our children, whatever it is. So we basically panic. We go into a panic mode. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا. Whenever harm happens to them, they basically start feeling that moment of complaint and halu'a, massahu sharru jazu'a, they're complaining and they're just, that's it, losing hope, and etc. That's a human nature. وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. And whenever good is given to them, they got the money, they're really afraid of losing it, so they start wanting to hold on to it because they're afraid that they might actually lose it and get into some kind of insecurity or some kind of poverty or who knows what it is. So the مسه الخير منوعا إلا المصلين. The only ones that would not live into that إلا المصلين, except المصلين. Why المصلين? What kind of musalli? Well, there's only the musalli that is really considerate over their prayer, not any type of a person that is praying is going to be capable of doing that. Only the person that had done a lot of training, internal training, which is tazkiyah, and external training, which is whether purification or whether to keeping that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the only thing that's going to keep them internally and externally strong and live that rifq, live that gentleness, maintain their stamina, keep their perseverance. That's what's going to keep them, one, maintain their stamina, maintain their perseverance, maintain their gentleness, keep their cool, basically. Oh, it's only salah that's going to give them that training. Salah, waking up for your fajr, getting yourself, I guess, into that cold water just to wake you up, to keep you strong, and keep you with those tasks that you've got a task, you've got to be committed 5 times a day. Yes, take the time to just recharge your brain, recharge your ability, recharge your stamina, recharge your perseverance, recharge your hope that it's in the akhirah, recharge your vision and redirect your vision that you don't see this life as whether you had lost or whether you had gained. You don't see this life as the place of focus, but you see اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. Guide us to the right path, Guide us to the path of those that you had blessed. Why now? You're redirecting your vision in what type of trends you choose, what type of a hope you live for, what type of energy you would spend in order to get into اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Guide me to the right path. You would redirect your vision, redirect your action, and you would hold on to what really deserves the most perseverance, what really deserves the most effort, what really deserves the most patience. So, inna rifqa la yakunu fi shay'in illa zana. That's the first story. That is, Sayyidah Aisha wanted that camel to run faster and it was going too slow. So the Prophet ﷺ tells her that to give it time. Basically, the second narration that a group of Yahud, a group of Jews passed by, and they basically started saying, Assalamu alayk. May you get death. So the Prophet ﷺ just responded and said, Wa alaykum kama qultum. And upon you as you are, and upon you is what you had said. So with Sayyidah Aisha, when she was basically hearing all of this, she started basically swearing back at the Yahud and yelling back at them and all of that. And the Prophet ﷺ just tells her to calm down. He said, didn't you hear what I said? And he just tells her, Inna rifqa la yakunu fi shay'in illa zana. You gotta be gentle, because if you were to get yourself into this type of an hyperactivity and you were to get yourself into such an outrage, you would lose your value, you would lose your power, you would lose even how you would demonstrate your ability to contain the anger and let it go towards what really matters. So here the Prophet ﷺ is basically teaching Sayyidah Aisha that what really gives power is not necessarily to show yelling, anger, and probably swearing at something, but when you contain your anger, you direct your feelings towards making the right move, that's what really gives you power. That's what really gives you that appearance of not only value, but it gives you wazn. It gives you the value, it gives you the power, it gives you the authority. It basically gives you that weight which is a metaphorical word, but it gives you basically what is necessary to give you the necessary protection, because then you would be giving yourself that weight, and the other people in front of you, they would recognize that you didn't necessarily act in an impulsive reaction, but that you had contained all your impulsive behavior, your impulsive feelings, in order to act based on what is necessary for a certain time. For a certain time, there's a reaction that usually happens when it's right away, that usually calms right away. It doesn't take long. But the anger that lasts longer, and the person is planning on what the right move should be, those people, you will see that the reaction had basically been, let's say, better studied, better reviewed, and certainly stronger in its foundation in what the result would actually become. You take what happened in Syria, for example. Yes, everyone was...
Or even Umar al-Khattab.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you look at, for example, when you look at Syria, in Egypt, things kind of went fast, but then when it went fast, that is, they thought it was a fast victory, they basically lost the victory right away. Just took a year. But with Syria, it took 14 years and a lot of lives, a lot of different things. Inshallah, we are hoping that the people of Syria would recognize that there's a lot to work for, there's a lot to work on, there's a lot to keep, that there's going to be a lot of conspiracies out there to defeat the victory that they had basically managed to get. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them the hikmah, the wisdom, will give them the ability to stay away from all the fitna. Allahumma ameen. All right, let's you want those links? So this is basically, we did actually put it in the so this is basically the link, and then to get the translation, you basically hit on these three buttons right there, and you go to translate, and then you would choose the English or Arabic or whatever language, or even Bahasa. Okay, let's see. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله رفيق. إن الله رفيق يحب الرفق ويعطي على الرفق ما لا يعطي على العنف وما لا يعطي على ما سواه. Let's see. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gentle and loves gentleness, and He gives for gentleness what He does not give for harshness, and what He does not give for anything else. Let's look at this hadith. Inna Allah rafiq. Well, does that make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having the word rafiq as part of His names? No. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ra'uf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is rafiq. Well, what is it, rafiq? Rafiq is the companion. Rafiq is the companion. Rafiq is also the person to give compassion. So when you go back to the root, rafaqa actually means to give compassion to something and to be gentle with something. So when you are gentle, you basically recognize all the different things that might lead to pain. So you would be so keen on taking away and doing the necessary move, but without all the pain that comes with it. That's a rafiq. So let's say the mother, she recognizes that the baby probably is, maybe it's going to get harmed if, you would probably make a fast move. So she would make her move slower. She would basically, let's say, comb their hair and with ease. That's a rifq. If she wants to put on their clothes, she would do it gently. She would use it, do it slowly. She would do it by making sure that every move is well studied to not make a fast move and harm the baby. That's a rifq. A rifq usually comes with slowness. Two, it comes with reducing pain. It comes with, or brings compassion, because you're the main motive to why you're being slow and why you're basically being wise and trying to do the right thing is because you want to reduce the harm, reduce the pain as much as possible. So that's why the person would be gentle. Okay, so inna Allah rafiq, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to basically, here certainly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gentle, and in other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want you to go through pain. In fact, He's doing what is necessary for you and with the least amount of pain. That's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's motive is rahmah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's motive is mercy. So even the pain that you might be facing, that's basically the least amount of pain that you can go through in order to get out of perhaps the situation that you're in. Wait a minute, the situation that I'm in, the least amount of pain? Yes, you're probably going through pain right now, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might put you through some pain to basically get you out of a bigger pain. And that's what it means, inna Allah rafiq, yuhibbur rifq. And even as a human being, you must التخلق بأخلاق الله. You must basically hold on to the mannerisms of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are the mannerisms of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Well, basically, rifq. You to be gentle. You to be gentle to make sure that you also get the mercy, the compassion from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيُعْطِي عَلَى الرِّفْقِ مَا لَا يُعْطِي عَلَى الْعُنْفِ. And He would give the reward for gentleness, compassion, and certainly empathy, because a rifq can also be empathy as well, because when you care for other people's feelings, you care for other people's pains, that you don't want them to go through pain, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's why He said, مَا لَا يُعْطِي عَلَى الْعُنْفِ. He would give basically for rifq, for gentleness, what He would not give on in reward, perhaps for violence. What is violence? So we're speaking about not just physical violence, but we're speaking about maybe a certain force that you would put into something. وَمَا لَا يُعْطِي عَلَى مَا سِوَاهُ. And He would also give not only for rifq, but whether it's violence or other things that one might do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the reward on rifq, on gentleness, in a way that He would not give the same reward that He would give for rifq. So rifq has a special reward. Let's go for another hadith. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الله تجاوز عن أمتي ما حدثت به أنفسها ما لم تعمل أو تتكلم. This one's a completely different subject. Let's say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had forgiven the nation for what crosses their mind as long as they do not act upon it or speak of it. That's a completely different subject, but we're still going to go in it. What does that even mean? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you see the word tajawaz, it actually means to go beyond, and therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not hold us accountable. When you say tajawuz is to go beyond something. It's kind of like when you're crossing a river, you're basically hopping over it. You're dismissing it. You're just hopping over it. You're not going in it. You're just hopping over it. You're basically leaping over it. So إن الله تجاوز عن أمتي ما حدثت به أنفسها. What is حدثت? حدثت means what they would speak to themselves. So what does that mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't hold us accountable for the things that we talk about within ourselves? What does that even mean? There is something that's really important. There is a hadith where the Sahaba come to the Prophet ﷺ and they say that that they're really afraid of what was basically spewing in their minds. In other words, they're just different thoughts that are coming to them. And the Prophet ﷺ tells them, أَوْ تَجِدُونَ ذَلِكَ? Do you find that? Now, here's one thing. The Sahaba, they came to the Prophet ﷺ complaining that if we were to even talk about what ideas are coming in our minds, we would see that the ripping of the skies open is a lot easier for us than actually saying these things. So people getting thoughts like kill someone, or whether it's homicide, killing, or probably jumping out of the window, or probably harming yourself, or probably harming others, or probably, and you recognize that I would not do such a thing, or probably, maybe Allah doesn't exist, these kind of thoughts, but you're like, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. You know that these ideas are not right. Those are basically part of what is called al-wiswas. It's the paranoia. As long as you don't do it, then this is just shaitan doing waswas in your brain. As long as you don't put it into action, you're not held accountable for it. So shaitan comes to you and tells you to, I don't know, jump out of the window, kill yourself, kill others, or whatever it is, harming others, or I don't know, putting poison, or whatever the shaitan is, coming with all these different ideas. And there's a difference, of course, between the paranoia and between psychosis. Psychosis, you would hear sounds talking to you. Okay, that would be sounds. You would hear sounds talking to you and basically telling you to do things. Okay. The psychosis, there's a certain treatment for it, so I'll leave that for psychiatrists to talk about. But in general, is that as a result of lacking deen? The answer is no. So even a believer can go through psychosis. There's a certain treatment. By getting the treatment for psychosis, that doesn't mean that you lack faith. Okay, that's not something that is relevant to faith. Okay, psychosis is not relevant to faith. That's relevant more of body and by some chemical imbalance in your brain, whatever it is that the psychiatrist would talk about. As long as you don't act upon it, then you're not held accountable. Okay, but can I control these thoughts? Can I control all of these things? Well, that's the second segment of the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ basically said, مَا لَمْ تَعْمَلْ أَوْ تَتَكَلَّمْ. As long as you don't do whatever the thoughts are coming at you, telling you to do, as long as you don't do it, the thoughts are coming to tell you, jump out of the window, you don't do it. As long as you don't do it, that's basically not something you're held accountable for. And أو تتكلم به, or probably go and let's say you get these thoughts and you start basically telling people to do it, or telling others, or you're proselytizing these thoughts, let's say kufr thoughts, etc. As long as you're not proselytizing these thoughts, you're not acting upon these thoughts, then you won't be held accountable for it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't basically judge you for it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will basically just dismiss those. The other thing is that this is pretty common with people that have OCD. They come in and they would make their wudu maybe, I don't know, 7-10 times. She might think that she's divorced and would come in and say, well, hey, what if this? And they'll come to you with all these different hypothetical situations, which they are so confused on whether it did happen or whether it didn't happen and so forth. So that's important to keep in mind, that if you happen to be going through these situations, that you don't let these thoughts overcome you by dismissing these thoughts as much as you can. And certainly seeking therapy is extremely important to help you learn how to do it. And it doesn't make you more religious by repeating your wudu like 1,000 times, or probably questioning whether your marriage is valid or whether your iman is valid or not, and continuously going into that. If your, let's say, Shaykh tells you you're okay, your faith is in place, don't worry about that, etc. Let's just move on. Don't keep on questioning. Don't even let the paranoia take over you, because it will become from a waswas to really shaitan, I would say, just taking over you completely. So just keep that one in mind. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, commenting on that, he basically said, Alhamdulillah alladhi radda kaydahu ila al-waswasa. Alhamdulillah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had basically channeled shaitan's powers to being nothing but paranoia, and not necessarily power to control the believers. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ, commented.
We should make like a video just for the dua for that, you know, since so
Right.
many sisters have that issue.
I do actually have several videos on mental health and that. So I do have it in.
Just the dua, you know.
Right. Inshallah, I'll that's a very important one. Inshallah. Rania Awad actually has multiple videos and multiple lectures, because she's a psychiatrist herself and from Princeton. So, and mashallah has an ijazah and 10 qira'at. She is definitely the person to do, I guess, the lectures in this regards. And just to mention that point, I think it's fair to say that she's the person to listen to in regards to mental health, psychiatry, and and psychology and these things. So I'm just giving you just I guess, an excerpt of what we would basically find in Hadith, and what we would find in the books of Shuruh al-Hadith. Okay, so I'm just giving you a short excerpt, but definitely Rania Awad would do a better job than me. All right. عن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله عنه أنه سمع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول: إذا حكم الحاكم فاجتهد ثم أصاب فله أجران، وإذا حكم فاجتهد ثم أخطأ فله أجر. What does that mean? Let's see. If a judge makes a ruling and strives hard and gets it right, he will have 2 rewards. If he makes a ruling and strives hard and gets it wrong, he will have 1 reward. I can't do a better translation than that. That's excellent. So, إذا حكم الحاكم. But is this hakim to mean a judge? Or is this to mean any person that is in a place of authority? Or is this to mean any random person like you and I? Okay, so when we speak about إذا حكم الحاكم, certainly الحاكم is usually the person that is a judge, but this is more inclusive than a judge. This is basically al-ijtihad is not necessarily to just rule on a case whether innocent or guilty. This isn't necessarily just relating to innocent or guilty, but this is talking about striving the means. So al-ijtihad is, in order for us to say that this is ijtihad, you put in the effort. Let's say you put in the effort as a parent, okay? As a parent, we're not going to be judges, but let's say I put in the effort as a parent to put my children in the best schools, to probably wake up and every day make sure they're dressed properly, they're given the right foods, they're I do all my homework in raising my children. Don't give them iPhones and don't give them electronics, and even when I do give them electronics, I'm trying to limit the time, etc. This is my ijtihad. This is what I was trying to do, my homework in raising my children, but then hey, they managed to basically, unfortunately, I guess, have a different choice, or probably a different intention. They basically go the wrong direction. You did your homework in raising your children right, and if your children are basically, hey, they come out as hafid, they come out as, I don't know, great children, great men, great women when they grow up, well, you get 2 rewards. But let's just say you thought that, hey, if I were to put them in a public school, let's just assume you thought that public schools weren't as bad, and you thought that if I were to put them in a public school and perhaps, say, put them in online Islamic studies classes and all of these different things, let's just assume you put them in all these different activities and all of these different things. You tried really, really hard in your other homework, but you only failed in that idea in putting them in a public school. Things didn't actually turn out the best. So in that situation, you get the reward, at least for doing the good things that you had done, and then for trying to estimate, because you didn't have the money to put them in Islamic school. You thought, if I were to make up for the missing areas of Islamic school, I'll basically be able to afford the other activities, but I won't be able to afford an Islamic school. So you basically thought that, hey, I'll do this one. Then you'll get one reward if it goes in failure. So that's just ahead. She tried, but yeah. But it's really important to take in consideration wisdom before we would jump onto that. Okay, so when you look at, well, what is al-ijtihad? Al-ijtihad is badl al-wusa. It's putting in the efforts, doing your homework, making, what does it mean to do your homework? What it means to do your homework is to basically read about, maybe question, ask the scholars, do your research, and see what is necessary to probably get to the best result and the best interest. What kind of interest? The best interest in relating to your deen, in relating to your health, in relating to your mental health, in relating to your chastity and family, in relating to your money. You're doing your best to make sure you get the best result. But let's say it didn't work out. So when you failed, keep in mind that, hey, it can happen. You will get the reward even if you failed. Don't lose your hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you want to remember, any harm that happens, even when you had probably invested and you thought you were doing the right thing, it didn't actually come as expected. Don't lose hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and remember what you're going to do. You're going to be gentle. You're going to hold your basically your stamina. You're going to hold your impulsive reaction, and you're going to stay calm as much as you can, contain yourself, and you're going to remember, man yuridillahu bi khayran yusib min. You're going to remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might actually put you in a situation to get you stronger, because it was the means to help you get stronger. So you're going to just remember that if you put in the effort, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for the effort and not necessarily for the result. Just keep that one. But this hadith is not saying that you're going to be rewarded for the result. This hadith is actually saying the opposite. It's saying, well, if you get the result right, then you'll get 2 rewards for it. If you get the result wrong, you get 1 reward for it. Certainly. So then scholars went into differences of opinions on, are we talking about 2 rewards in deeds? Or are we talking about a reward that, good for you, you did your stuff in this dunya. Now you got the good outcome of it in this dunya, and the good outcome for whatever reward you would get in akhirah. So ajr al-dunya and ajr al-akhirah. Okay? And some scholars said that no, it's not ajr dunya and ajr al-akhirah. It's literally that the person got ajr for basically the reward for putting in the effort, and they got the reward for getting it right, and therefore it's to basically work out that you put in the effort to. It's not enough to just say, okay, well, this is what it is. I did my effort and that's basically it. No. Try to get it right. Put in the effort. You need to collect the data. Look at this data and what it leads to by probably studying the statistics and seeing where this is, what this is going to lead into. That's how you're striving to make sure you're doing your best into getting into the right answer and getting the best results. So that's basically just to break it down. So وإذا حكم فاجتهد ثم أخطأ فله أجر. So if they ruled, then remember, it's not necessarily just a judge, but it would also be inclusive to any person that is in a place of power, whether it's a parent or whether it's a judge or whether it's somebody that is probably in a place of being a leader, a president, or who knows what, their teacher, whatever it is. So in that situation, you tried, you invested, you tried to collect the data, you tried to figure out what's going to get you into the best consequence. If it's right, well, good for you. You're going to get your rewards. If it's wrong, well, just remember, you tried and don't give up. Let's see. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الدين يسر ولن يشاد الدين أحد إلا غلبه فسددوا وقاربوا وأبشروا واستعينوا بالغدوة والروحة وشيء من الدلجة. يا سلام. Let's see. The religion is easy and no one will overburden himself with religion except that it will overcome him. So strive straight, be moderate, be glad. Be glad. Abshiru, okay. And seek help by praying in the morning and afternoon and some of the night. Excellent translation. Let's focus a little bit deeper. Inna dina yusr, that religion is ease. Wait, so what does it mean religion is ease? Religion is ease, so anything that's easy, that's the religion? No. Religion is supposed to basically give you the keys to make things easier for you. It's the direct straight line to get you into success. In other words, don't go around it. Don't try to cut corners. The second you try to cut corners, those corners are going to cut corners basically and snap in your face. Don't think by getting into perhaps stealing that's basically an easier way of making money. Certainly, it appears easier, but guess what's going to happen? You cut corners, it's going to snap into you. You're probably going to get into jail. You're probably going to get into in trouble. And you're going to find yourself, you thought that you got into your risk faster, but it actually got you even farther by probably another 30 years or another 15 years or who knows what. It got you into basically a trouble that slowed down your chances of becoming successful. Let's say you cheat on your test. It may seem that, okay, well, I'm going to get to my scores faster that way. But the truth of the matter is that it slowed down your successes in the long run. You try to cut corners, it will, boom, it will snap in your face. And just when you thought that it was getting you to the result faster, it basically slowed you down. وَلَنْ يُشَادَّ الدِّينَ أَحَدٌ إِلَّا غَلَبَهُ. What is يُشَادَّ الدِّينَ? يُشَادَّ الدِّينَ, how do you shed the deen? So that's basically to be strict in a deen. So what does that mean? I don't want to wear hijab, for example. Don't wear hijab and you're probably going too fast in it, or how do we understand this? No. Another hadith explains it, that the Prophet ﷺ said, مَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِهِ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ وَمَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. What I ordered you to do as much as you can. And what I forbid you from doing, then stop immediately, in other words. So what is مَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِهِ? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered you to do certain things. Take it bit by bit. You cannot, and don't expect, especially for new Muslims, don't expect to change everything and become a person that is practicing everything all at once. Take it bit by bit. And the most important thing to help you grow, let's call it the regular, or maybe I shouldn't call it regular, but what I mean is a steady grow. Make sure you learn and you spend more time in learning the deen in trying to basically put in more practices and too many all at once. Spend more time to learn the deen, spend more time to get into that inner spirituality, and certainly add bit by bit in connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and learning, perhaps, number one, learning maybe the meanings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, understanding the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, understanding shahada. Number two, connecting and trying to put in salah. Hey, if you can't do the 5, start out with 4. Start out with 3, maybe. Start out with 1, maybe, and maybe add some more as you grow little by little. If you can't read the Fatiha, hey, can you read it off your iPad? We'll do so. If you can't read it off your iPad, you could just say Allahu Akbar. Well,
Is
say
that
just
kind of the same situation for like people who like repented or something?
Absolutely, Noura. Absolutely. You don't want to rush, and that's why it actually takes us right there. فَسَدِّدُوا وَقَارِبُوا. What is فَسَدِّدُوا? If you're able to make things perfect, boom, great, excellent. Do so. If you're able. But you don't want to rush things and find yourself that you're basically rushing into becoming, hey, a person that is similar perhaps to, I don't know, a person that's probably been working on their faith for 40 or 50 years, and you're just a Muslim, probably 2 years old, and you're trying to be like the person that's been 40 years Muslim. Even though it's not about how many years they've been Muslim, because being 40 years Muslim, it doesn't necessarily mean they've been practicing all their life, but you want to understand that there's so much to learn, that there's so much to, let's call it, I guess, detox. Because when you're speaking about living in fitna, that brings in a lot of toxication. In this actually requires that you would do a lot of detox, and where it takes time. Sometimes you can't rush things. It just takes time to detox from different friends. Now I'm taking away my friends. Now I'm taking away probably a certain type of entertainment that I was always so used to. Detoxing perhaps a type of language. Hey, every time he gets angry, or probably something doesn't work out, you'll see, this letter word, that letter word, that requires detoxification. And what kind of words you would say when you get angry, when you're happy, when you're joking around, what type of personality. That basically means the most important detoxification that you would want to work on is really the environment. And that's going to take time, because, hey, your job is a certain job that basically rubbed into who you are. Perhaps your friends, perhaps the entertainment that you were exposing yourself into, perhaps the type of food, perhaps the culture that you were surrounding yourself with, perhaps the family. All these different things, they were contributing into making you who you are, whether contributing or whether affecting you. Let's use the word affecting, because contribution is for a positive thing. But all of these things, they basically had an influence on what you are. So in other words, when you look at فَسَدِّدُوا وَقَارِبُوا, you can try to become perfect, but you want to keep in mind that there's so much to learn about the deen. There's so much to really practice. If you were to go into areas, perhaps Mauritania, perhaps Chad, where there's no internet, there's no, I guess, all these different influences, you'll see these people are actually capable of doing qira'at al-Quran for hours and hours and hours. You'll probably be reading a juz' a day, and you would think of yourself, Alhamdulillah, brother, sister, I had become just a perfect Muslim. It's like, what if you were to compare yourself with these people that would stay doing their qiyam al-layl throughout the night and
Man,
doing
all those people are better than me.
exactly. You would compare yourself with these people. They would do qiyam al-layl, and they would really, throughout the day, they're just really, they have no entertainment. Their entertainment is in dhikr. Their entertainment is in dhikr, is in talab al-ilm. These people, this is their entertainment. They know no other entertainment. To them, this is entertainment. What are you doing? Oh, they're basically sitting in the masjid and just doing tasbih. That's their entertainment. No iPhone, no reels, nothing of that. Their entertainment is basically just to do that. You just compare that. So فَسَدِّدُوا وَقَارِبُوا. You try to become perfect, but then you're going to do, even if you don't get there, at least try to get there. What is القارب? قارب is to get القرب something. It's to get close to something. Okay? So even if you are not perfect, but you try to make it perfect. وَأَبْشِرُوا. What is أبشروا? Of course, when you are trying to become perfect, but you start losing hope in yourself, man, I could never do this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, no, I don't want you losing hope. Abishiru. I want you to have the hope that you could do it. So how can I get into the hope, and how can I make that hope basically become into action? Become something on ground that's really making me really get into practice. So he said, استعينوا بالغدوة والروحة. What is استعينوا? استعينوا is like, here's some tips. Okay, what's the tip? The tip is you're going to certain prayers during al-ghudwa. What is al-ghudwa? Ghudwa is early in the morning. Maybe Salat al-Duha, maybe Salat al-Fajr. Just that's going to help you generate your energy, generate your power, basically, right there, and warawha. And at the end of the day, same thing, put in, of course, salah. So now it's telling us that salah is actually key to generate your activism, generate your powers, generate your energy into basically becoming a person of deen. And وَشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الدُّلْجَةِ. What is شَيْءٌ مِّنَ الدُّلْجَةِ right there? Shay, it's like some qiyam al-layl. What is it, dulja? Dulja is in the middle of the night. So wake up sometimes in the night. You wake up at 3 a.m. and you're like, oh, you need to sleep and move from one side to side. Okay, you just woke up, you opened your eyes and you're looking at your clock that it's 3 a.m. Okay, try getting up for just 2 rak'ahs, just 2 rak'ahs, just 2 rak'ahs. Just get up, 2 rak'ahs, and go back to sleep. That doesn't have to be long. شيء من الدلجة. Just during the night, just wake up during the night, just for 10 minutes. Pray qiyam al-layl and go back. You're going to see yourself that you're capable of doing more as time passes by. So that's going to give you that strength. Let's go for the other hadith. عن أنس رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال يسروا ولا تعسروا وبشروا ولا تنفروا. What is يسروا? Yassiru means make things easy and don't make them difficult, and give good tidings and do not repel. That's for the people that do da'wah. Yassiru, make things easy. Sometimes you would see people taking the harshest fatwa, or probably people are not ready to take the harsh fatwa. Sometimes, hey, if there's a differences of opinion, just keep that one in mind. Don't you want to take the most strict one? Strict, quote unquote. Okay. You want to take that one? Well, good. That's a sign of piety. It's a sign of piety that you would say, al-khuruju min al-khilafi awla, that I want to stay on the safe side. That's a sign of piety. Not everyone is at that level, though. Okay. Not everyone is at the level where they are wanting to be at the safe side. Some people are still struggling with their music. Some people are still struggling with their hijab. Some people are still struggling with their eyebrows. Some people are still struggling with their nail polish or whatever it is. Yassiru wa la tu'assiru. Some people are still struggling with letting go of their gelatin, okay? Right, with their foods and what choices they would make. Yassiru wa la tu'assiru. If there are differences of opinions, you want to take the more strict one as to better shield and for better religious integrity, definitely, that's what you want to do for yourself. Definitely, that's a sign of piety. But for others, يَسِّرُوا وَلَا تُعَسِّرُوا. Stay within the side of making it easy. Doesn't mean you change the religion. Don't change the religion by saying يَسِّرُوا وَلَا تُعَسِّرُوا. Don't make what's halal become haram, or what's haram become halal. Don't change the religion. Say, well, this is haram, or this is, differences of opinions, etc. وَلَا تُعَسِّرُوا. And if somebody is trying to work out their deen, hey, بَشِّرُوا وَلَا تُنَفِّرُوا. Say, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the reward of Jannah. He'll give you this reward of if you were to let go. وَلَا تُنَفِّرُوا. Don't say, hey, he'll put you in hellfire. Well, what if that is true? That if a person does that? So you want to add two things. Try to give il-bushra. You'll get Jannah if you would memorize the Quran. You will get Jannah if you would go to the masjid. So no, what am I doing now? I'm encouraging them. But not if you don't go to the masjid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put you in hellfire and rot in hellfire. So what are you going to do? Is it okay to actually say, hey, you don't go for Salat al-Jum'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold you accountable and طُبِعَ عَلَى قَلْبِهِ مِنَ النِّفَاقِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will stamp your heart as a hypocrite. Should I say that too? Sure, certainly, because that's what the Prophet ﷺ himself had said. But you're going to combine two. You're going to بَشِّرُوا وَلَا تُنَفِّرُوا. عن عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هلك المتنطعون. هلك المتنطعون. What is هلك المتنطعون? Say, those who go to extremes are doomed. Well, he said it 3 times. Is that really the translation? Let me explain halaka. Halaka means, well, yeah, it would be mean to be doomed, but التنطع is basically to take the extreme of something. That's true. But when we're talking about what is it, tanattu? So there is another segment to the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ basically he said, "Al-munbat la ardan qata' wa la dhahran abqa," which basically means the same thing as this one. But let me say that hadith because it kind of gives a better and a deeper explanation to this hadith. So what does that mean? The Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-munbat la ardan qata' wa la dhahran abqa." Let me write that down, right? Let's write that down. Here we go. I'm going to write that down. المنبت لا أرضا قطع ولا ظهرا أبقى. Who's المنبت? So المنبت is basically a person. So let's say they had a camel or they had a horse. Those are the means of transportation for them at the time. So what this person was doing, he was trying to get to, I guess, his destination. But then he kept this camel or the horse or whatever it is run so fast. And because he was making it run so fast, basically, of course, the blood circulation is making this animal basically not carry enough energy to go that fast. And what happens is that this person, they didn't get to their destination and لا ظهرا أبقى, and didn't even maintain or keep the back of this animal alive. So now they didn't get to the destination and neither did they leave this mean of transportation alive. So then in that situation, هلك المتنطعون. Those that are extreme and find themselves going to the extremes, they basically would be doomed. They would basically lose their ability to get to Jannah and their ability to maintain their deen, to even stay holding on to the faith. So that's how they would get into being doomed. They don't get to Jannah because they're extreme. What does it mean to be extreme? To wear a niqab, is that extreme? To pray on time, is that extreme? To not drink, is that extreme? No. Extreme means that the person is not taking their deen based on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, and they're basically being extreme and not being to the limit that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mentioned. So for example, let's say, okay, they wanted to pray. Well, you got Salat al-Dhuhr, but let's say this person said, well, I'm going to make Salat al-Dhuhr into 5 rakahs. That's extreme. It was Salat al-Dhuhr is 4. To say I want to add on to it, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not permit, that's extreme. Okay? So being extreme, it doesn't mean wear niqab. That's not extreme, because the Sahabiyat were even wearing that. That's not extreme. Hijab, jilbab, all of that, that's not being extreme. Being extreme is to go beyond the limit that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had regarded as the limit for deen. That's what it means to be extreme. Okay, so what we'll do, we're going to stop right here, inshallah. If I'm capable of finishing this, inshallah, tomorrow, well, not finishing, but capable of doing more, but I really want to do tafsir as well. So we're at 83, Hadith 83. So if there are any questions before we would end, I'd be happy to answer them. Oh dear. Is this class every day? So this class was supposed to be Sundays and Saturdays, but then someone provoked me. Her name is Noura. She provoked me to study this hadith and felt that I didn't do an enough job in explaining this hadith. So I couldn't go for a tafsir. A tafsir was supposed to be now, but then she provoked me and I ended up doing this hadith, and I couldn't get out of this these hadith, and I continued because someone provoked me. So yes, we were supposed to do tafsir today, but yeah. Okay, all right. So inshallah, yeah. So even if we're not doing this hadith, we would be doing tafsir. Okay, so we would be doing tafsir. So pretty much, yes, around this time. So around the same time, yeah, we'd be doing tafsir, we'd be doing hadith, we'd be doing, inshallah, something every single day, except I think Sundays. So yeah, we'll have classes every single day. Definitely join us. Inshallah would be beneficial, and hope to see you all other times. And let's see, we've got different names. Inshallah. And Rabbi yahfadkum. Let's see, we've got Anjum, new names here, Lemis, mashallah, and let's see, Amri, Faiza, love the name, Latifa, Umayya, and Zoom user. I'm assuming that that's Sister Khadija, and Khasatullah. Beautiful names. So if there are any questions before we end, I'd be happy to answer it. Okay, I guess no questions. Yeah, anyways, we definitely pass our time. So